Hello, we're recording this presentation on February 13th. This presentation is a shortened and revised version of the presentation delivered in person at Parks Wheaton headquarters on Monday, February 2nd. My name is Elena Guarinello, and I'm a Cultural Resources Planner with Montgomery Parks. I joined Parks about 2.5 years ago after many years in museum exhibition development and planning. During this presentation, I will share with you our thoughts so far about this project, focus on the county's history of baseball and softball within African-American kinship communities from the early 1900s to the 1970s. The project is in its early stages, and we would like to invite broad and in-depth participation from community stakeholders to help shape and contribute to the project. Before we jump into the project itself, I'd like to zoom out and talk about the framework under which a project like this falls here at Parks. Parks may be best known for athletic fields, trails, and wide open spaces. But a key part of what we do is care for the cultural resources on parkland. This includes historic structures and archaeological sites, and also cultural landscapes and stories connected to the land. Before they were parks, some of these places were residences, farms, mills, and community gathering spaces, such as schools and ball fields. Some were sites of togetherness and joy, but also of enslavement, labor, and dispossession. This year, the county is commemorating the 250th anniversary along with the United States. That span of history has certainly held a lot. And of course, the history of this land stretches back thousands of years before 1776. The county's development has been shaped by many forces, including at times discriminatory practices. While we can't change the past, what we're hoping to do with our programs is to restore stories to the land, and in doing so, honor the lives of people of the past and deepen appreciation of the county's rich history for the people who use and enjoy the spaces today. On this slide, you'll see some of the ways we interpret those histories for the public. For example, in the upper left, an augmented reality experience at Oakley Cabin, museums such as the Josiah Henson Museum and Park in North Bethesda, public programs, and the Untold Stories program. Untold Stories is a program that launched back in 2023. It's a program with specific emphasis on underrepresented histories and community collaboration. It's the program under which the project we're discussing today falls. The outcomes we hope to achieve with this program are increased representation in parks and increased levels of engagement with history and culture from those who already seek it out, as well as from accidental learners, what we call accidental learners. For example, folks who come and play baseball and softball at our parks. The program is built on collaboration, community engagement, and an understanding of our audiences. The photo you see on the right is from a planning meeting at Emory Grove to go over text and images for interpretive signage for Johnson's local park. Actually, the idea for this project came out of the work we're doing with Emory Grove around Johnson's Park. The photo you see on this slide was contributed to that project by Michael Johnson, who shared many photos with us, including several he took of softball at Emory Grove in the 1970s. From the conversations I was having related to Johnson's, and through starting to learn more about county history in general, the significance of baseball and softball history was quickly unmistakable. In addition to diving into existing research, today I've talked to a number of people to learn more stories about this fascinating history. The public meeting on February 2nd and this recorded presentation are a way of more formally launching the project and casting a wide net seeking participation and input. We have some ideas for how a project around this history could take shape. For example, we imagine sharing this history with park patrons in a variety of ways, which could include interactive displays, signage, public programs, art, community events, etc. How the project evolves and what ultimately gets produced will be shaped by community stakeholder input, as well as a deeper appreciation of park patrons. And I'd like to share a little bit about what excites us about this project, beyond, of course, the very rich history itself. One is that this history is countywide. Nearly every historic African-American kinship community had a baseball and softball team during the era we're focusing on. This provides an opportunity to connect with people who live throughout the county, not just in one location. And two, sports history can become an on-ramp for addressing larger topics. For example, how those historic communities address the challenges of the Jim Crow era in Montgomery County. In addition to celebrating athletic feats, content could also cover how athletes dealt with the world around them. What jobs did they go on to? How did they nurture the next generation? How do games fit into a larger social scene? What about the business of the game and entrepreneurship? There are multiple themes and topics to explore, with sports as a jumping-off point. Of course, this is not a new topic of interest. There is already a great deal of research and material out there. Everything from a brochure in 1987 from the United Black Cultural Center to the Lincoln Park Historical Society's 2001 Guide to African American Communities. And in recent years, Historic Tacoma produced a documentary about Mr. Lee Jordan, and of course, the annual Pint Israel Juneteenth Games at Povich Field. This project looks to build upon all this good work. We do have some existing material on this topic installed or soon to be installed in Montgomery Parks. There's interpretive signage at Wims Meadow in Little Bennett Regional Park, which was installed in 2010. Reunion games were also held there in 2008 and 2010. Signage about Johnson's Park is scheduled to be installed there later this month. What you see in the photo is a mock-up that a colleague of mine is holding. The panels will be installed pretty soon. And there are plans in the works for a larger park renovation there that will incorporate historic interpretation. Also, we see sports history and parks as a natural fit. As this map shows, Montgomery Parks manages 147 diamond fields spread across the county. Throughout the fall and spring, many youth and adult athletes and their coaches and fans come to these fields for practices and games. Our hunch is that these individuals are an audience who may be interested in this local sports history. So this project has two audiences. A crucial audience is the community stakeholders for whom this history is personal and stirs up a lot of memories and emotions. Former players, coaches, and their fans. People who remember the picnics and the delicious food, the camaraderie and the community pride that accompanied the games. Also in this group are like-minded local history and community organizations who are engaged in similar endeavors. The second audience is the general public, those patrons who use the diamond fields, as well as history seekers who may be interested in online material or targeted programs and events. For people in the community stakeholder group, here are a few ways we would like to invite you to participate, if you are willing. One way is by providing input and guidance to help shape the project. How would you like to see this history shared? Beyond public-facing material, what other goals and ideas should be included? What kinds of themes and topics should the general public be asked about as part of the audience study? In general, let's imagine the possibilities for this project together. The other way is to contribute information and/or materials to help document this history and to share it. For example, do you have photos or other documents that would help ensure the history is complete and to bring it to life for the public? Do you have information to share about specific teams, players, or events? Would you like to be interviewed or take part in a small group interview? We have capabilities for digitization and recording, and of course, all digital files will be shared back with you. And then the other audience is the public audience. This is the one we need to better understand in order to create effective materials that resonate and stick with them. Conducting an audience study is how we intend to develop an understanding of this group. The types of things we want to learn about them include their level and awareness and knowledge of local Black baseball and softball history. Also, how interested are they in learning about these topics? And are there any themes that particularly resonate with them? The project will also benefit from understanding how this audience might like to learn about this history. For example, do they imagine that they might read interpretive signage, enjoy a mural, or experience a digital activity? This is especially key to understand since most people don't usually head to ballparks expecting to engage with history content. During the fall season in 2025, we conducted a set of 16 brief interviews as a test for this study. The idea was to test our interview materials and questions and also learn from the process of recruiting participants at a ball game. This improve our materials and process for a bigger study that will roll out during the spring season in a few months. There's a few things we learned from this test phase in the fall. One set was about conducting the interviews. We went to baseball tournaments at Wheaton and Cap and John Regional Park, where we assumed there would be a concentration of people. While this was true, given the focus on the games and the movement between the games, it was challenging to recruit people to sit down and do a brief interview with us. Also, most of our participants who agreed to do the interviews were white and 2 were Asian and Asian American. This is problematic, and we need to adjust our strategy for the spring season to get a more representative sample. We did learn a few things from the interviews themselves. By and large, participants had very low existing awareness or knowledge of local Black baseball and softball history. In some cases, they did offer up names of famous players they'd heard of from the Negro Leagues and Major Leagues, like Jackie Robinson, Satchel Paige, and Roy Campanella. And they did have a high interest in the topic and themes shared, which is promising. While this is helpful early data to have, remember it's from a small test sample. Next steps for the audience study are to revise the interview materials, ideally with community stakeholder input, and then launch a wide-reaching digital survey and some interviews in the spring. So what's next for this project? Ongoing throughout the rest of this year, we'll be holding some open stakeholder strategy sessions, talk through goals of the project, audience study, look at existing research, identify research gaps, things like that. We'll also do photo and document scanning as folks are ready and can come to us, artifact photography, oral history interviews, other forms of outreach, and ongoing staff research. Coming up this winter, we'll refine the general audience interview and survey. So we're ready for the spring season, in which we'll be distributing the digital survey in multiple ways through our website, QR codes at ball fields, emails to leagues and other partners, and through in-person recruitment. We'll also be doing some interviews and focus groups. So if you want to stay informed or get involved, which we hope you do, please visit the project webpage, mocoparks.org/blackbaseball. There you'll find a form to fill out where you can join our project email list or let us know other ways you might like to get involved. You can also access that form by scanning this QR code. Thank you very much for your time and hope to hear from you in the future. Take care.